Welcome, everyone. It's wonderful being with all of you in this new way. Even though we're not physically together, seeing your beautiful faces the last few minutes really uplifted my heart. And I feel that we are together on a very deep and profound level. So let me start with a little prayer. May there be peace in the heavens. May there be peace on earth. May the water flow peacefully. May all the forces of nature be restored to balance. May all the creatures be peaceful. May all the people from all faiths and nations learn to live together harmoniously as one universal family. May peace, peace, peace prevail on earth. So I've been asked to speak with you on the topic of finding peace in times of chaos. I think we all know what chaos is right now, quite clearly. So the question is how to find peace in the midst of what we are all experiencing. I think we all are wanting a return to normalcy, stability, knowing that our loved ones are safe and healthy, and feeling like we're not alone, that we're together. So what I'm going to do now is to try to give you a few tips about how we can maintain our peace during the weeks and months ahead. And I'll start with a quote by Swami Satchidananda. Do your best and leave the rest. So what does that mean? Follow the advice that's being given you by your government, by health officials. Do the best you can and then put worry and fear aside. One thing about worry is if you can do something about a situation, why worry? If you can't do something about a situation, why worry? Worry serves no effective purpose. There's a proverb that goes, worry is like a blind man in a dark alley looking for a black cat that never existed. There's also a quote I like from Kurt Vonnegut, the author, that says, worry is as effective as trying to solve an algebra equation by chewing bubble gum. Any of you who ever took algebra when you went to school, I think can relate to that. It drains the strength, the confidence, the joy we may have in being able to effectively address a situation. So, do your best and leave the rest. There's an expression, carpe diem, seize the day. Even if we don't know if there will be tomorrow, we have today. Every day we have 15 breaths a minute, 21,600 breaths a day. We can have each inhalation be filled with inspiration, with hope, with positivity, and each exhalation a release of any worry, fear, and resistance. We've been given this day. Let's make the most of it. Swami Satchidananda used to say, faith and fear do not go together. Faith is sometimes thought of as an acronym, FAITH, meaning fear absent in the heart. A heart without fear is a heart filled with faith. What does faith mean? Where should we have faith? Even the concept of faith seems almost unthinkable, unimaginable at this time when we're faced with circumstances that overwhelm our understanding, push our hearts to the limit. So what does faith mean? We can have faith in a higher power. We can have faith in certain practices that help us to retain our peace. We can have faith in ourselves, in our own capacity. We can have faith in one another, knowing all the support that we have received from one another over the years. Or we can have faith in the ultimate goodness of the universe. Faith that by coming together, we will indeed have a positive outcome from all that we are collectively undergoing now. And I would say if faith isn't something that naturally is present in our hearts, we can use our will to choose faith. Choose faith. People speak about wearing rose-colored glasses. Well, every morning when we can get up, we can pick up imaginary faith-colored glasses and put them on. We can predispose ourselves to see through the eyes of faith. We all have our own preconceptions, our own temperament, our own mindset that colors the way we see the world. Right now, I think for each of us to help even move the situation to resolution, it's so important to cultivate a positive mindset within. We've come to the situation that we find ourselves in my feeling, due to our collective negativity in the form of greed, in the form of violence, in the form of polarization that has for years now disrupted our politics, economics, our society, our religious life, everywhere. Even the earth itself has been thrown out of balance. So what we need now, more than anything, is for the spirit of positivity, of hope, of kindness, of compassion, of love to fill our hearts and then flow to one and all. If we created something, we have the power to create something else. We are so much more powerful than we realize. It makes me think of a story that I once heard from an early incarnation of the Buddha. In this story, he was born as a little wild bird in the forest. He was a happy little bird. And then one day, a storm came and a bolt of lightning hit a tree and set it on fire. And pretty soon, the whole forest was ablaze. So the little bird ran all over, flew to creature, telling them, go to the river, go to the river. The forest is on fire. Save yourself. And many animals made it to the river to safety, but many could not, and they were choking, trapped by the flames and the smoke. So the little parrot thought, what can I do? What can I do to help all the animals? So the idea came. He flew to the river, immersed himself totally in the water, flew out, and then flew to the different animals, and then just shook his little wings. So those precious little drops of water fell onto the flames. And he kept doing that, to the water, then back to the flames, to the water, back to the flames. Of course, from a practical perspective, what was he accomplishing with these few drops of water? Absolutely nothing. But what happened was his peculiar behavior caught the attention of some divine beings in the heavenly realm. And one of those beings was very interested and took the form of a big golden eagle and came down and began to fly in tandem with the little bird. To the river, to the flames, to the river, to the flames. And at one point, the eagle said to the bird, little bird, why are you doing this? You aren't accomplishing anything. Please go, save yourself. And the bird said, at a time like this, I don't need advice, either help or get out of my way. And he continued to fly back and forth in what seemed like a fruitless mission. But what happened is the efforts of this little bird, its full-heartedness, its sincerity, its doing its best in the face of immense obstacles, attracted the grace. And that great divine being began to cry. And as its tears fell, the flames were extinguished. Beyond that, the earth itself was healed. Beyond that even, all the animals were restored to life. The efforts of one small, tiny being saved all the creatures and the earth itself. So I'm saying this as a message of hope and encourage and motivation to let each and every one of us know, to help myself remember at this time, that even if we're isolated in a little corner somewhere, even if we think, what can I do? What will my little efforts avail? We don't know the ripple effects and the powerful forces that we are setting in motion. It makes me think of that young girl, Greta, from Sweden, I believe, who was moved, motivated, activated by the climate crisis and just sat outside the parliament one day in protest, begging leaders to get it together and make the necessary changes. One little girl who was autistic as well, in a country that few people probably have even visited. One little girl set ablaze a movement that has overtaken the world, I think it's the collective negativity and sort of poor actions that have brought about this unbalance in weather extremes, and now this crisis in the form of this alien invader in the form of a little virus, and that we haven't changed our actions, but Mother Nature has finally heard the cries of the children who have gathered in millions all around the globe. And in a way, humanity has been grounded. Instead of parents grounding their children for misbehavior, our collective humanity has been grounded by Mother Nature so that we can reflect on what is happening, what the causes are, and really commit to making changes. I saw a little while ago a meme that someone sent me. It was a picture of the earth, and then across it there was some, I guess it was police tape, the yellow tape, and on it was written the words, "Closed for repairs." And it's amazing what's happening. In a short amount of time, comparatively, the earth is healing itself. I'm sure you've all seen photos of China, photos of India, where the sky has been yellow and brown for I don't know how many years, and now it's blue. Just given a little time, that tremendous healing of the earth is happening. I read an article the other day about how the great pandas, that couple in Hong Kong that they've tried to get to mate for a decade, has finally come together in the peace and the privacy that is now available to them. So it's a time of healing midst all the suffering, midst all the crisis. Ultimately, it will be a time of renewal when we come out the other side. So we can stay strong in the faith that ultimately we will prevail, we will surmount this challenge, we will find solutions, and we will move forward stronger and acting in a more righteous way with greater gratitude and love in our hearts for what we have in one another and in this beautiful world that's been given us as our home. The Sanskrit word for faith is Shraddha. It doesn't mean an emotional or sentimental feeling. Shraddha means conviction backed with action. You believe something and then you act accordingly so it can manifest in the best ways possible. I think one thing that could inspire us at this time is to keep in mind and to focus on all the good that's happening in the world. The other day, I read a news article out of the UK that the government put forth a call for volunteers to help in this crisis, and more than 750,000 people responded. That's almost 1 million people came forward to help one another. I saw on the news last night footage of an emergency room doctor who had fallen ill to the virus himself, had recovered, and this was his first day back. As soon as he was able, he returned to the emergency room to serve patients and help them recover too. And as he entered, the entire staff in the emergency room gathered to applaud him. And he immediately dismissed the applause. And he said, "This isn't a time for applause. This is the time to get back to work. We have work to do." All the people in the front lines of the healthcare professions, unbelievable, every day getting up, going into an environment, putting themselves at risk. The sacrifice, the service, the courage, the generosity that is showing up is so encouraging and inspiring. Years ago, I saw a science fiction movie called Contact. Maybe some of you saw it. It's one of the classic science fiction movies now. And one of the lines spoken by an alien invader at the time was, "Humanity is a very interesting species. When things are at their worst, you are at your best." Something inside us gets triggered. It's like the darkness calls forth the light. That light just shines ever brighter when we get challenged to our core. It's like when things are just going along sort of so-so, sometimes there's a tendency to almost sleepwalk through life. But when things become stark, when the darkness seems ascendant, the light within is triggered, activated, awakened. And this brings us to the next thing we can do to find our peace in times of chaos, which is go deep in our practice. This is the time to say, well, it's too much. I can't calm my mind. I'm not even going to try to meditate. It isn't the time to say, well, I have too many things that I've neglected for years and I have to do them now. Now is the time to say, it's non-negotiable. Every day, first thing when I get up, I'm going to sit to meditate. Make a resolution. 15 minutes twice a day would be great. If that seems like too much, set the least amount of time that your mind can possibly find an excuse and say, I don't have that much time to spare. Even if it's only 5 minutes, make a firm resolution. Before I do anything today, I am going to sit and center myself, pray, meditate, do some self-inquiry, whatever method resonates with your heart. Find your center, establish yourself in the peace and balance within. What you do first thing when you arise makes a deep, deep impression, and you'll carry it with you throughout the day. If any of you have ever awakened to a clock radio, you know this truth. If you get up in the morning to sha na 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 na, etc. What are you doing all day long? Are you saying your mantra? Probably not. You're chanting sha na 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 na. Better to say Om Shanti than Shanana. The first thing you do, it's like the mind is like a blank slate and it gets engraved deeply. That peace will see you through whatever challenges life may present, and it will make you more able to be an instrument for peace for others which is so, so necessary. Better to have a small resolve with tremendous commitment than a big resolve with a little bit of commitment. Even small resolve with big commitment will plant a good seed that will go deep and bear fruit. Same thing with your Hatha Yoga, especially to boost the immune system now. Hatha Yoga and especially pranayama. Even if you say, oh, maybe I don't want to do the Hatha Yoga, or I don't have the time, or I just don't feel motivated. Pick the least amount, even one asana that you can't possibly find an excuse that you can't do it. Because the trick is, it's not so much doing the practices. Once you start them, they feel so good that habit kicks in. The resistance comes, from my observation, from sitting down on the cushion and rolling out the mat. Once you do that, everything else just flows. So make a small resolve, firm commitment, and your practice will grow from there. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. And the final thing I would recommend, so do your best and leave the rest. Don't worry. Faith and fear don't go together. Really find the faith within you, whatever form that may take, and use it as a steering wheel as you move through life. Third, focus on seeing the good in what is happening and what other people are doing, in the courage, in the sacrifice that you see being demonstrated all over the globe. Fourth, go deep in your practice. And fifth, as best you can from where you are sheltered in place, reach out and serve others. The best way to forget our own burdens and lift our hearts is to think of others and do what they can to lift their burdens. The Tirukkural, a scripture from South India, states, it is difficult to get in the land of the gods or on earth anything as good as service to humanity. There was once a man who didn't live a very good life. He passed away and he awoke to this extraordinarily joyful, celebratory type of place. There was partying and feasting going on 24/7 everywhere. And he thought, wow, I didn't live a very good life. I never expected to wind up here. And for several weeks, he had a very jolly time. But then he began to get bored. And he went to the gatekeeper of the place and said, I'd like some work to do. I want to make a contribution. I'd like to be able to do something meaningful. I'm tired of all this partying and playing. And the gatekeeper said, well, there is no work here. And the man said, I don't think you understand me. I want to work. I want to do something to benefit others. And the gatekeeper said, yes, I understand you quite well, but there is no work here. And the man said, well, I don't understand that. I thought in heaven I would be able to do what I wanted to do and I would be happy. And the gatekeeper paused and said, what makes you think this is heaven? That's what. You know, they say for babies, the primal need is touch. We need touch to survive and to thrive. I think that continues as we move through life, but as we come into adulthood, there's something just as important to us, and that is to feel that our lives have a meaning, that what we do is valued, that we have a role to play, a contribution to make in the world. And whether that contribution be just to smile at someone you pass when you're out on your daily walk, or give a call to now to lift their spirits, to bring groceries or medicines to someone who can't leave their home, whatever it is, it has meaning, it has importance, it is valued and appreciated by others. And like that little parrot, those little efforts made by all of us, they collect and form a tremendous force for transformation in this world. My favorite quote from Swami Satchidananda is, "With every minute, every breath, every atom of your bodies, repeat this mantra: dedication, dedication, giving, giving, loving, loving." That is the best yoga that will bring us permanent peace and joy. This is a time where the whole earth and all of humanity are in a tremendous crucible of transformation. It's a time to let go of past grievances, of unnecessary attachments, of all the baggage that has been cluttering, overshadowing our hearts, our lives, and our energy, and the way we deal with one another. This is through all the loss, all the grief, and all the suffering everyone is facing now. It is also an opportunity to meet that challenge, to do what we can. Each and every one of us are equally important in this regard. Do what we can do to transform the world and restore it to the beautiful home that it once was for all of us. And I would just like to say, when we emerge from this crisis, and with all our efforts and prayers, we can have the hope and the conviction that it will be sooner rather than later. When we emerge and look back on this time, let us be able to feel in our hearts that we faced it with courage, with love, with compassion, with loving kindness, with the spirit of service, trust, and acceptance of that higher will, so that as we move forward, we can all do so with full joy and freedom of heart.